What's going on, everybody? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fourth and Goal Sports Show. I'm your host, Tyrus Wilson, and I'm joined today with a close friend, Kalani Buggs. Came on the channel before, he's joining me again. And today we're going to be talking about the recent matchup between the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles. In my personal opinion, that was the game of the year. Overtime thriller,
I agree.
walk-up touchdown by Jalen Hurts, just an amazing game. But before we get started, please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. But without further ado, Kalani, you want to start it off?
My reaction to that game, man. That game hurt me. I mean, as a Bills fan, the Josh Allen fan, that game hurt me only because of the fact that we were up 17-7 at the half. I'm thinking in the half, I'm thinking we can't we can't let up. We have to win this game, especially because we're already in the hunt to get in the playoffs. The Eagles, they're solidified, they clinched it, they're good. But I know they were still gonna play hard. But for me, it was just we just had to win. It was a must win. Every game now is a must win. And we were up in the game, and I saw we were competing with one of the best teams in the league. So that gave me hope, but it still sucks to lose, especially over a walk-off touchdown by Jalen Hurts, who was playing great all game. Um, and I know people are trying to pin the loss on other things, but the main factor is Josh Allen. I honestly don't think he had any blame for that loss. I know he had that one pick, but I mean that's part of the game. He had 4 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts had 2 turnovers. He had 5 touchdowns. I mean, you can't expect Josh Allen to have a perfect drive every play of the game, but he was almost perfect for most of the game. So I think that it hurts. It definitely hurt that we lost, but can't blame it on Josh Allen. I think it's other things around that we need to switch around for us to start winning some more. But it was overall. I agree with you said. I believe that it was game of the year, hands down. I don't think there was any game that came near that one. You had two of the best teams in the NFL going at it in an overtime thriller. So I think I think that was a great game. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you for sure. From what I discussed, on Twitter when I posted on Instagram discussing the game, you know, as far as Jalen Hurts, I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan, and as much as I was complimenting Jalen Hurts in that game, I'd be remiss to sit up here and say he was the best quarterback on the field because for sure Josh Allen was the best QB in that game, but I just think when it what differentiated those two and what I think separates them is at the end of the game, like you said, you can't always expect Josh Allen to step up and have to carry because it really looked like he was carrying. It really looked like he was carrying at a certain point in the game.
Hmm.
But it was almost like he's done it so many times and it's like, are we out of energy? Are we just done? And they had to kick the field goal in OT, right? And then you go to Philly, they have the ball. Jalen Hurts just in that offense, they seem to always take it slow. They're just keeping it going, steady pace. And then get to that last play and he just takes off and runs it. And the defense on both sides really struggled, but I think the biggest reason the Bills lost that game, the defense has been struggling like ever since the injuries. They've just been struggling all season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that our defense was solid for most of the game. If you watch from the jump, I mean, they caused Jalen Hurts to get three and out. I think like the first his two drives of the game. So it was that defense. It was giving me hope at the beginning of the game. I'm thinking, all right, we got this in the bag. They want to win. They're playing with a different level, so or like different type of energy. So I'm not thinking we got this in the bag, but I'm thinking we have a good chance of winning. So, but I do understand that what you said about Josh Allen, like it looked like he was carrying, and in my eyes, he was carrying. I mean, he's Jalen Hurts isn't asked to do what he's asked to do. I mean, he's asked to obviously throw the ball. He's asked to score basically every drive to keep them alive. He's also asked to get them rushing yards. They're asking their QB to get rushing yards because we don't have a reliable runner. I mean, we have James Cook who shows flashes and Latavius Murray, who like shows he shows little hints. He'll get a few yards. He'll have big plays at times. But you see how the Eagles have DeAndre Swift. They have somebody they can give the ball to if Jalen Hurts doesn't want to run. They'll give the ball to DeAndre Swift. They have AJ Brown. They have Devontae Smith. They have all these dudes that'll come up big, and all the pressure is taken off the quarterback for some plays. Yes, the quarterback is the one who runs the game, and the game is in their hands. But I do think that it's unfair for Josh Allen because You can't get mad at him because James Cook isn't getting yards. It'll be a crucial moment in the game. It'll be a second and 10. They run the ball with James Cook. It'll be a third and 8. And then Josh Allen is now at this point asked to make a big play. And if he doesn't make a big play, he's criticized. And I don't really think that's fair because when I'm looking at other quarterbacks, they're not asked to do what he's asked to do. You look at Mahomes, you look at Joe Burrow, well, not Joe Burrow at the moment, but Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Tua, uh, heck, even CJ Stroud, they don't have to worry about all these like pressure moments where they have to come up big. So I do think that it it's kind of hard on him, and I feel like it's always the blame's always gonna be put on him because of that. So
Yeah, I mean, I could see that because I mean, as of right now, I would say like as far as the most criticized QBs, you have like Josh Allen, you got Lamar, and you got Dak Prescott, and really out of all of those quarterbacks right now, you could really make the case that Josh Allen has the least amount of help out of those three quarterbacks right now. Now, on the offensive end, you can make that case for Lamar, but I'm talking about is the full teams, the full rosters. As far as that goes, Josh Allen really has to show up the most for his team because I've seen games where even if Dak has a iffy game and he's really not doing all that, his team shows up for him. If you check his stats from that game, week one versus the Giants, they weren't crazy stats. They were, but the scoreboard told a completely different story. And so when you take take that, flip it on its head, compare it to Josh Allen. Josh Allen, on the other hand, is one of those quarterbacks where majority of the points for the Bills is going to have to come from him. His defense is not going to score the way that Dallas's defense is going to score when you compare Josh Allen, you compare Dak Prescott. Same thing for the Ravens. Josh Allen's defense is not going to score or make plays the way that the Ravens defense has made them. So it kind of puts the Bills in this back and forth situation. Their offense almost has to score every single drive because, when you look at the Eagles, it was like back and forth like a boxing match, back and forth.
yeah, I agree. Like I said, with those other quarterbacks, even when you use Dak Prescott as an example, yes, he's like used as the main scapegoat, but I do think that for him, like in terms of Dak Prescott, he has his defense to help him. I mean, you have all those stars on defense, and then you have his offensive players show up. They're not always going to show up, but his defense, like people say, defense wins championships. I mean, his defense is literally like you said that first week against the Giants. He he didn't really do. I mean, he didn't play bad. He just didn't do nothing crazy because his defense stepped up and they helped him get that win. But if you look at all the other quarterbacks, like uh, Patrick Mahomes, I mean, he doesn't have to worry about running the ball because he has Pacheco to constantly get him yards. And then he has Travis Kelsey, and then he has all these. He doesn't have the best wide receiver options, but his running game with Pacheco is really good. And then Lamar Jackson, his defense steps up and saves him a lot as well. So Josh Allen doesn't really have all those other options. It's like I said, everything is really put on him. If he doesn't have a near perfect game, they're gonna lose. I mean, but even that near perfect game he had against the Eagles, his defense couldn't get a stop on one more drive, and I feel like that's also on Sean McDermott because you're telling me you play defense solid throughout most of the game, and then you can't in one drive when your quarterback got you. I mean, it wasn't a touchdown, but that's also on Gabe Davis. Instead of going in, he went out for the route. But he still got a field goal. He put them in field goal range. Now all he's asking is to get one stop, and then look at that. That one game, we're 7-5, and we're in the playoff picture right now. But because of that, we're pushed back, and now we're still in the hunt. And I don't think it's fair to put the blame on him. He's leading the league in touchdowns, in total touchdowns, and in just passing touchdowns. So I mean, he's showing that what I'm saying? He's showing what he's capable of and why he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But I mean, he's gonna have it's a team sport at the end of the day. Quarterback can't win the game all the time, so I think he does need his teammates to step up.
Would you put Josh Allen right now with the recent firing of the Bills OC and the way Josh Allen's playing right now? Would you put him in the MVP race?
I I love Josh Allen, man, but I wouldn't necessarily put him in the MVP race only because of their record. At the end of the day, record does play a part in it, but if you we should have won a few games that we lost. We should have won if we because we're 6-6 right now, I believe. If we were 8-4 or 9-3, even with the stats that he has right now, he's the MVP front runner. I don't want Jalen Hurts is not. I'm sorry, Jalen Hurts is not better than Josh Allen. I'm sorry, Jalen Hurts has a better overall team, and that's why he looks better than what he does. I promise you that. Jalen Hurts is not better than Josh Allen. CJ Stroud, I don't know where that came from. He's not better than Josh Allen. The only one that I still believe that you can make a case for is better than Josh Allen at this moment is the man up in Kansas City. That's the only one you could say is probably better. Everybody else, no. That the disrespect that he's been getting lately because his team has been losing has nothing to do with him. Yes, he's not perfect and he makes mistakes, but it's not. He doesn't get his criticism and all the other quarterbacks' criticism are two different criticisms. If Patrick Mahomes turns the ball over, oh, I mean it's all right. You know, I mean people make mistakes. Josh Allen turns the ball over, he's overrated. He's this and that. So he's always my MVP. I mean, look at the way he's playing right now. His stats are proving it right now. But I think he needs some help. You can't win the game by yourself, and that's why the record is the way the record is. Josh Allen is doing his part. Yeah, he has I think 12 or 13 picks on the season. I think 13 picks on the season at the moment. Yeah, 13 picks on the season.
He's up there. I think
I think he's tied with
he's
Howell.
up
I
there.
think.
Yeah, he's tied for Hal. I think him and Hal are tied for most in the
Yeah,
league.
tied for 13. But I mean, but that's the thing. I don't watch the Commanders, so I can't speak for Howell. But when I watch the Bills, half of those aren't his fault. That's why I think the NFL, me personally, I think the NFL needs to make a separate stat for, you know, because one of those picks, I think was that against Denver, where Gabe Davis had it in his hands, he dropped it. That looks bad on Josh Allen's end. You see what I'm saying? That's not fair because I think he gets too much criticism. I mean, he has 13. I think Mahomes has 9. Jalen Hurts has 10. And look at that. And we played one more game than all those teams. Who knows if by next week, because we're on our bye this upcoming week, who knows if this upcoming week one of those quarterbacks have a bad game and throws a few picks. Now, some of those aren't even on Josh Allen, and I do believe that the reason why he has some of those picks is because he's asked to do everything. He's asked to make a play from start to finish every drive of the game. If they don't score on one drive of the game, our defense is so mid, like subpar to the point where if Josh Allen doesn't make a play on one specific drive of the game, the defense is going to get the ball, the offense is going to get the ball right back, and they're probably going to score. And the defense is going to look around like, okay, Josh, can you save us? Can you make a play? And that's not fair to ask for a quarterback because Mahomes doesn't have to deal with that. Jalen Hurts doesn't have to deal with that. Tua doesn't have to deal with that. None of those quarterbacks have to deal with that because all their players are stepping up. But if you look specifically at the Bills, look, I want everybody tuned into this channel. I want all of you to go home and watch Bills games. If you go home and watch the Bills games, everybody can see what Josh Allen is asked to do is different than what Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Tua, all those quarterbacks, Dak even is asked to do. I want you guys to all go watch those games and look at how he's asked to do everything from start to finish, every drive. And if he doesn't, the game goes to the other team's hands. That's literally 9 times out of 10 what's going to happen if he doesn't make a play.
I'm gonna have to disagree with the one point though, because I mean, like when you come into the discussion of when the game's on the line and the quarterbacks have to step up, I think there are certain quarterbacks that are asked to do that. And when you say like okay, when you say Josh Allen is better than Jalen Hurts, yeah, I could agree with that. Last year before the season started, I did my quarterbacks ranking, and I had Josh Allen right behind Mahomes. I took a lot of heat for that, right? But I stood on that. But as far as this season goes, when I think of quarterbacks that step up when their team needs the most, I just don't think of Josh Allen. Right now, I think of Jalen Hurts when their team needs them most, and they're trailing and they're losing, and they need that big play or they need something, just energy. Jalen Hurts, Jalen Hurts, he finds a way. They find a way.
That I don't agree with that. Only because wait, let me ask you this in front of everybody right now. You're taking Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen right now.
This season,
This season, at this very moment, you're taking Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen right now in front of everybody that's tuned in right now.
yes, I'm taking Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And hear me out on this. Hear me out, because a lot of people, I've seen a lot of criticism from both players, uh, and recently I've seen more criticism as of recent. Like I'm talking like maybe the past 2 weeks, including this week. As of recent, a lot of people have been talking about Jalen Hurts and the MVP conversation, right? And you got a lot of people just hating on Hurts, saying he's not even in the conversation. I just said I think he's a candidate. I think he's a candidate. And yes, it does help that his team has the best record in the league, but also I would say that, the way Hurts is really performing is a testament to how he's able to fight through adversity. The man's playing injured. He's not 100%. And his defense, as great as they are, they had their miscues and they've had their challenges, you know, from going back to several games in the season. But it always seems like when, things are a little shaky, Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, they find a way.
That's the thing. You can't sit there and say Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate and then not put Brock Purdy in that conversation with that logic. Because with that logic, I guess Brock Purdy's in that conversation, or Dak Prescott, or one of those losers in that conversation. Jalen Hurts, I'm not going to take nothing away from him. He's a top 5 quarterback right now. But to say he's better than Josh Allen, who's also dealing with injury, it's just that his injury is kept under wraps. He plays through it because he has no choice. If he doesn't play, they're a guaranteed loss at the end of the day if he doesn't play. And what you have to remember is that his injury is kept under wraps, and it's not as big. I know Hurts is dealing with an injury. He's not 100%, but so is Josh Allen. He's dealing with an arm injury or a shoulder injury, one of those injuries where it can affect him throwing, and it doesn't look like it because he's still playing that good. And
Right.
I don't really see how you could put Jalen Hurts in that MVP conversation. I mean, I could see it because he's playing good, and his the team record, they have the best record in the league right now. So it's a quarterback award. So it's kind of like he would probably get it right now if the season ended at the end of the day. But that doesn't necessarily mean I agree with it. I mean, that's just how the NFL is at this point. And I just don't think that's necessarily fair because I look at Josh Allen and I honestly think if it wasn't for his record right now, he'd be in the MVP conversation. I mean, he's leading the league in touchdowns. Doesn't that say something to anybody? Everybody out there watching this, doesn't that say something to anybody? It balances out. Okay, he's tied for the most interceptions, which half of those aren't his fault. If you go back and watch every single Bills game, I don't miss a Bills game. If you go back and watch every single Bills game, 13 picks on the season, about 6 of those are his fault. That's really because he just. But that's understandable. You're a quarterback. I mean, you make certain mistakes. You're not gonna be perfect every. You're not gonna read every defense. You know what I'm saying? Every perfect every play. It's not how it works. But if you look at Josh Allen and you look at Jalen Hurts, if I had to pick one for one game, I'm choosing Josh Allen in a heartbeat. Guess what? Josh Allen, he doesn't need to score off a tush push. If you look at those
Um,
two rushing touchdowns that he had. You look at those two rushing touchdowns that he had. One of them, he just carried and he was moving. He was looking like a running back. I mean, Jalen Hurts, the first touchdown he had against the Bills, it was a touch push. I mean, I'm not gonna take nothing away from it because it's smart, but that's not no skill. You're just standing there and you just like you're
nah, I gotta disagree with that.
I'm pushing
That's
you.
that's a good discussion piece though, because I mean, a lot of talk has been going around the league this season with the tush push, and you know, for real, I disagree with a lot of people on it. A lot of people will say it's not a football move. Former Commanders defensive coordinator who just got fired, Jack Del Rio. When
Mm-hmm.
we played the Eagles the first time, I believe, the first or the second time, whatever, he said that he was asked about the tush push, and he said he doesn't like it. It's not a football move. It's a rugby move. And in my head, I'm thinking, call it what you want. Call it a soccer move, a basketball move. You can't stop it. You can't stop it. And to sit up here and say that it takes no skill, I'm gonna have to disagree with that because I've seen it on our end when we tried to replicate it with Sam Howell. I think the Eagles have the perfect combination of a strong quarterback. Jalen Hurts probably the strongest quarterback in the NFL, probably squats the most, and then compare that with the probably the best offensive line in the NFL. Put those two together, there's no D line stopping that.
That's why that's no skill. You have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. You got Jalen Hurts. I never said I said it. Jalen Hurts is the top 5 quarterback. He's not a slouch. I mean, he can.
Yeah.
You're at the what? You're what? Third and inches. Of course, you're gonna tush push that. And it doesn't take no skill. It's a few more steps, and you're right there. That doesn't take no skill because you have an O line that's helping you. You have someone behind you that's pushing you. That's why it's called the tush push. But with the argument that I mean Sam Howell, it wasn't working for him. I mean their O line isn't like Eagles O line, so that also takes a factor into it. So I'm not saying that at the end of the day, the quarterback has to catch the ball and he has to like move with them. So if you want to use that, I guess that takes skill. But in my eyes, that doesn't take skill. You're catching the ball like he does on every snap, and he's being pushed a few more inches and for a touchdown, the first play of the game, or not the first play, but their first touchdown in the game. Josh Allen do a tush push, but he ain't doing that for no touchdown. I see him. I think he did it against the Eagles once. If you, I want you guys to look at all the touchdowns he had against the Eagles. He had 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 throwing touchdowns. He would have had 3 passing touchdowns if Gabe Davis ran an in route instead of the out route. That's on the wide receiver. That has nothing to do with Josh Allen. That was not on him. You can clearly see that because after the play, Gabe Davis was mad at himself for not running in. Everybody knows you're supposed to run in that moment. You were in that moment, and we're having a different conversation, and we're in the hunt at this point. But you see what I'm saying? You see why I say they don't have to deal with what Josh Allen has to deal with. You kind of just proved my point. He has the offensive line, like you just said. He has the running backs, like I acknowledged. His wide receivers, they show up every night if they have to. That's why I mean he has the best over. I mean they're showing it right now that they have the best team in football right now because they have the best record in the league, and they're not playing. It's not like they're playing bums; they're playing good teams. So they're showing why they're an NFL contender, a Super Bowl contender, but at the same time, he has the help. Josh Allen has help on certain plays of the game. Like I'm not saying he's doing every single thing from start to finish by himself, but for the most part, if you watch it from a fan's perspective, that's exactly what that looks like. He's asked to rush. Think about it. They're asking their quarterback to rush the ball. Like on the 3rd and 10, if they don't want to pass it, they can't get it to James Cook. They're asking their quarterback to go and move his legs and get. They're risking him, asking him to go get that first down. Now let me ask you this: is that fair on Josh Allen's part or no? I want an honest answer. Do you think that's fair for
Hey,
him?
you got to do what you got to do for your team. Is it
You got to
fair?
do what you got to do,
No,
man.
it's not fair. It's not fair because the other guys need to step up. For real, for real. James Cook is proven, and like, there's no disrespect to him, but I think he's proven he's not a running back one um, in this league. And the O line has been shaky. That's something you definitely gonna have to address in the offseason and in the draft. But I mean, Josh Allen utilizing his legs, that's a part of his game. That's a part of what makes him a great quarterback. But, is that something you want to ask out of him every time? No. But he's like I said, Josh Allen, he can find a way. He can find a way for his team. It's just that when you're making the straight comparison between him and Jalen Hurts, I just think, you know, I get your point when it comes down to, yeah, Hurts has the roster, he has the support, but you know, there's other quarterbacks who have that same support, who have like that talent around them. But when you compare those quarterbacks who have all the help in the world and all the talent around them, I'm putting Jalen Hurts above those guys. Um,
Ooh,
when you,
what quarterbacks have what Jalen Hurts has? I want you and not do
I,
anything. I want you to tell me.
I got you. Now, hear me out before I get discuss this. You can make the argument that the Eagles have the better roster than these teams, but at the end of the day, they're all on the same tier as far as overall talent level for their team. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
But so you got Dallas filled with talent, straight talent all over that roster.
Okay.
They should win. They're doing what they should do, honestly, right? And the way that Dak's playing right now, he's doing amazing. The difference is when you look at Jalen Hurts and you look at Brock Purdy and the talent that's surrounding him, and you look at Dak Prescott, I would say the 49ers, they've won without Brock Purdy. They know how to win without Brock Purdy. The Cowboys, they know how to win without Dak Prescott. It's gonna be harder. It's gonna be harder, but they have a talented roster to where if Trey Lance had to step in here or there, I'm confident that they would be fine. They would have struggles, but they would be fine. They wouldn't score as many points, but they would be fine. But when we look at Jalen Hurts, if he got injured even more than he already has, which is probably why he's still playing. If he got injured worse than he already is, I promise you, if they put in Marcus Mariota, they're not winning too many games.
I
They're not
mean,
winning too
obviously,
many
I mean,
games.
but look, Marcus Mariota. I mean, it's Marcus. Like, no disrespect to an NFL quarterback, but you can't put Marcus Mariota in that conversation. You can't ask him to do that. But I will say this: if you put Brock Purdy on that Eagles offense, it's gonna look the same. If you ask me, they might not be as elite, but that's because obviously Jalen Hurts is better than Brock Purdy. Like I said, I'm not taking anything away from Jalen Hurts, but at the same time, if you put Brock Purdy or you put Dak Prescott on that offense, they gonna get to the playoffs. They're a lock for the playoffs. Same thing with Brock Purdy, they're a lock for the playoffs. I mean, so I don't necessarily agree with that statement. I mean, I think the Eagles and the Cowboys have around, like you said, they're around the same level of talent and skill. I think the Eagles have a higher up by just by a tiny bit, but I don't think that it's necessarily by a large gap, and it'll be a major difference. Like how you named the other quarterbacks, they go down, then they're gonna have their backups do good. I mean, that's because the Eagles quarterback backup is Marcus Mariota. I mean, no disrespect to him, like I said, but he's not Jalen Hurts. So, or he's not, and he's not none of those guys. So, at the end of the day, I don't really know about that argument because I've seen, you know, I just don't understand. I don't see how that would work. But at the same time, I do agree Jalen Hurts does have a major impact for that team. I mean, he's the quarterback, an elite quarterback at that. Nobody's taking anything away from him in terms of that. But one game on the line, I'm choosing Josh Allen over Jalen Hurts. If I one game, the aliens come down, everybody they say we want one quarterback between they line up Jalen Hurts and you line up Josh Allen right next to each other. I promise you. I'm not even saying this because I'm a Josh Allen fan or a Bills fan. I'm speaking from a analyst, like just looking at the stats and looking at the highlights. I'm taking Josh Allen over Jalen Hurts. I want. How about this? How about this? Well, I'm gonna ask you this: if you switch Jalen Hurts with Josh Allen, do you think what do you think the Bills' record would be? Do you think it would be better or worse?
I think it would be better than 6-6. I do. I do.
Wow,
Yes.
wow,
It
wow.
now hear me out in the full aspect of this. In the full aspect of this, when you if you were to switch Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, I believe Jalen Hurts would have the Bills with the better record, but I also believe Josh Allen would probably have the Eagles the same or a little bit worse. That's
Mm,
how.
I don't agree at all. I honestly think the record would be worse because Jalen Hurts, we don't know what he'll be able to like show off because he has such a good team. Everybody's playing their role correct. He looks like one of the like he looks like the best quarterback, but that's not the case. I want people to realize Josh Allen's perspective at the moment. People aren't gonna realize it because he's disrespected and because no quarterback, elite quarterback, is dealing with that at the moment. Look at all the they're taking Josh Allen out of the elite quarterback conversation because of the fact that his team is 6-6 and all the others have winning records for the most part. Because they're not, I'm even hearing Trevor Lawrence is quote unquote better than Josh Allen. I'm hearing you say C.J. Stroud is better than Josh Allen, and that's not
I said.
true.
I mean,
No.
I said through the first 10 weeks. Through the first
But
10 weeks,
even
he won.
that's how can you say that about a man who's leading the league in touchdowns and about a man who's asked so to do everything? You know that because you see what he has to go through. None of those quarterbacks have to go through that. It's moments in the game, like you said, where the quarterback, like late in the game, where the quarterback has to step up and show why he's elite, and they do that. But guess what? They're not asked to do that every play of the game, like how Josh Allen is asked to do that. So honestly, the minute Josh Allen messes up, he gets ridiculed. It's done. It's over. When in that game, he was the best quarterback. He was the best player on that field. I know people are saying, "Oh, Jalen Hurts had 5 touchdowns and Josh Allen had 4." Did you see how many passing yards he had? Did you see how many rushing yards he had? How many rushing touchdowns he had? How many passing touchdowns he had? Yeah, Jalen Hurts got the big. He ended up getting the win, which is a vital part. But you gotta understand, Jalen Hurts' team stepped up and they played their part. DeAndre Swift had big plays down the stretch. Josh Allen was asked to rush and get them and get them the first down. So guys like Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith, all those guys I see on ESPN talking about you know about Josh Allen. He's not that dude. They don't want to sound like haters, but they're just not. He's not showing them anything right now. Look, man, I love those guys. I respect them. But if you ask me, I would you could look at me and say I am calling them out because I honestly think, and those are two guys who know the sport. But like I said, I'm calling them out because they're disrespecting Josh Allen for no reason. I do. Only person I would like to commend is Dio Dan on ESPN. He stands up for Josh Allen because he understands my perspective. He's looking at it and he's seeing that he's being treated differently than Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes team is winning, and they look at that. Patrick Mahomes has a bad game. Oh, you can't rely on Patrick Mahomes to do everything. But the minute he plays good, Patrick Mahomes, he's that dude. Josh Allen, I'm hearing things like this. Oh, they win. Oh, like the Bills win. Oh, I mean that's what Josh Allen's supposed to do. He's supposed to do that. And I mean, it's against the Jets. It's against the Jets. I mean, the Jets have one of the best defenses in the league. Yeah, their offense isn't really much, but their defense is literally still one of the best in the league. He put up 32 points, I believe, on the best defense in the league. And the next day, all over ESPN was that it wasn't against anybody superior when they had one of the best defenses in the league. You see what I'm saying? But let that be Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts. Oh, he ripped their defense apart. He read their defense the whole game. That's why I think there's two sides to it, and that's not fair because you got one quarterback who's elite, but he has all his players, his role players doing everything they can to help him win. They're going along the ride. You got one quarterback, on the other hand, who's elite, who I think is the best quarterback in the NFL, who's elite, doing everything he has to do. But the minute they still lose, or the minute he can't come up every play of the game or certain parts of the game, you see Josh Allen. He's not that dude. He's turnover prone, and that's not fair. Then you got Stephon Diggs' brother, Trayvon Diggs, going on social media, get 14 out of here, this and that. No disrespect, 'cause I love Stephon Diggs, but 14 ain't helping much. He's helping in certain moments of the game, but it ain't like he catching it and getting a bunch of yards when he catches the ball. Josh Allen
Yeah.
is asked to do everything. And the fact that you're disrespecting Josh Allen on Twitter by saying 17 wasn't nothing until 14 got there. At the end of the day, I want all of you to look at this. At the end of the day, you put any quarterback and any wide receiver, a good wide receiver and a good quarterback on the same team or quarterback with potential, that quarterback is going to look obviously going to look better because there's no quarterback that has zero receivers and they're going to do something. That's just, I'm sorry, that's not how it is. You can't, like, the quarterback has to have somebody they can trust. And I will say this, once Diggs got there, Josh Allen did become better because, again, Diggs is a great receiver. He's one of the best in the league. But that argument, it can be made for anybody. What is Mahomes without Kelsey? What is Burrow without Jamar Chase? What is Hurts without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith? You see what I'm saying? All these quarterbacks that are elite have all these guys to help with the ball. Trayvon just mad because he wants his brother to come to Cowboys. That's what he wants, but he ain't going to the Cowboys. So at the end of the day,
I
Josh
think
Allen,
so too. Yeah.
he is the best quarterback in the league. I think he's proving it night in and night out. His record just doesn't show for it, but that's because he needs some help to go along the way.
I respect that take though, because I mean, Josh Allen, he's getting better as the weeks going on, and I do think they're gonna find a way to get to the playoffs. They're gonna have to scrap for it, but they're gonna find a way. It's gonna be tough in the AFC, but we'll see. But in conclusion, just want to say thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting the Fourth and Goal Sports YouTube channel. Please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Comment down below your thoughts on the Eagles versus Bills matchup. Game of the year, just overtime thriller, amazing game. Comment your thoughts on the game. Be sure to comment, is Josh Allen in the MVP race? Is Josh Allen better than Jalen Hurts? I love that discussion. I love that debate. Who's the better quarterback? Please be sure to comment. Want to thank Kalani for joining us, bro. Appreciate you coming on. Definitely gonna have you back. But just want to say thank you guys. Have a blessed day.
Sir,
Peace.
thank you for having me. Y'all stay tuned for Fourth and Goal Sports, man.